Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something amazing to take a look at today. We have an absolutely massive box here to take a look at. As we continue to pan up here, you can see this box is much larger, much taller than even the lights that I have here in the room, but you can obviously tell this is the rearing up version of the Nanmu Brachiosaurus, and I am so psyched to get a hold of this one. It took quite a while to get here because for some reason the West Coast has been holding off on sending my figures. For some reason, as soon as they hit that area, they just keep them for weeks. Don't know what their deal is, but I wish they would cut it out. But we now finally again have the Brachiosaurus here to take a look at the rearing up version, and it looks beautiful here on the front of the box. Again, the size of the box is really, really impressive. It is massive for sure. So the box art definitely is impressive enough, but I'm sure the model itself is going to be even more impressive. So let's pop the box open and check this one out. So we've got ourselves the base, and the base looks really nice actually, and definitely sports a beautiful earthy area, nice vegetation as well as a downed log and everything here, adding some beautiful elements of realism. So I'm sure the Brachiosaurus is going to look great on this base. And then the underside sports Watchmen, and then the Nanmu logo. And actually, it also has a limited edition number. Wow, that's really cool. That's something I don't think I've ever seen on any Nanmu releases. They always state, that there's usually like that limited release, but I don't know that they've ever had an actual limited number on the underside. So that's definitely pretty fun. I really like that. That's actually awesome that they've included limited edition numbers now on the underside. So we've got the base here, and then we've also got the Brachiosaurus itself, and I think we need to come up here. Honestly, let's just put it on the base. It's too big to really do anything with at this point, so I'm going to slide the pegs in the hole right here. We've got our Brachiosaurus set up. We can start on the lower part of our Brachiosaurus and lead up, and you can see that it looks so beautiful. That very nice long neck of our Brachiosaurus in my camera. Didn't want to focus on it, but there's the head. Again, looking as though it is feeding from a treetop, similar to what you see in the opening scene of Jurassic Park. Honestly, recreating the rearing up aspect of that Brachiosaurus perfectly here with this Nanmu version. And again, it is so huge, like such a presence to this Brachiosaurus because of how large it is. I cannot wait to show you guys a size comparison here in just a little bit with some of these other figures to show you how huge this Brachiosaurus is. And I also cannot wait to bring in the other Nanmu Brachiosaurus, the more walking versions, to see in comparison to this rearing up version. But let's go ahead and before we do all that, check this out with a closer look right now. Now this Brachiosaurus is even more awkward to review than the other ones because of the very tall positioning of this one. So it might be a little rough to get some good angles of it, but you can see straight away as far as the head sculpt goes, it looks gorgeous, just like the other versions did, but this time we have an open mouth on our Brachiosaurus, and you can see the teeth on the inside of the mouth. Of course, our Brachiosaurus in the opening scene of Jurassic Park is, taking down some vegetation from a tree, so that's kind of what you would expect to see as far as a rearing up version goes. And you can see the inside of the mouth actually looks really nice from a detailing standpoint, but the lighting is not being too kind to it right here. You can pick out the tongue on the inside of the mouth, and the detailing there on the upper side also looks great. You can see a beautiful gloss coat in there, and it seems to have been given a nice dark wash to add some color variation in there as well. So the inside of the mouth looks great. All of the teeth are very nicely painted. Every tooth appears to be sculpted individually, painted individually, so that as well makes the entire thing, I think, even more impressive. We have some beautiful tones of brown that we have here on the face, and it's all brought together nicely with a dark wash, so that ties the paint together beautifully, highlights all the cracks and crevices in the skin, and again just adds an element of realism that I always love when it comes to any model that receives the dark wash treatment. The eyes are painted very nicely. They are brown, given a black pupil. They also have a little hint of white. And actually, when I say painted, I should say I think it's a decal. I've never really confirmed this. I state this every Nanmu review because I feel like the Nanmu models always have the best, most lifelike eyes of pretty much any dinosaur company out there. But The eyes of this Nanmu Brachiosaurus again look great, sporting that nice gloss coat so they shine like real eyes would. You can also see the nostrils there on the top of the head. As you lead back here into the neck region, you can see a little bit of hanging skin there coming off of the neck, and you can also see again detail-wise it looks beautiful as far as the skin texture goes. There are those nice brown stripes, those darker brown stripes like we saw on the walking version that had this same color scheme. And I like how there's like this lighter brown that you can see kind of creeping through some of the darker browns in a few different areas. You also have kind of like a lighter kind of almost like a grayish brown sort of that stripes up back and forth between the darker brown stripes as you lead down the neck. Of course, the neck is really elongated because the Brachiosaurus is rearing up trying to reach some very high vegetation. So the neck is like forever and a day long here as we lead down the course of the body. You can see that is an exceptionally long neck on our Brachiosaurus. The throat region as well looks beautiful. You can see the throat is very nicely elaborated. The skin texture throughout is incredible. I'm trying to be exceptionally careful with this Brachiosaurus because this limited version is actually made of resin, which is not what the other ones are. So this one's a lot more fragile than the standard Brachiosaurus from Nanmu, and that's actually going to lead us to something else we need to talk about a little bit later in the review. But as you lead down the course of the body, again, you can see how all of the paintwork looks incredible. There's honestly so much color variation to a Nanmu model, and this one is a really good example. Like just here on the underside, I'm seeing some slight hints of orangish browns, some light kind of tannish browns. There's also some off-whites. I even see some specific whites, and then a dark wash that has really tied everything together, and that's just here on the underside. So that really shows you how much incredible paint application you get on your model when you get a Nanmu release. It's honestly amazing. And then as you lead back here into the body, you can really see the shoulder blade as well as the muscle definition of the shoulder blade there nicely shown in the sculpt. And then as you lead down into the front leg here, which is actually kind of held into the body a little bit because again it's off of the ground as the Brachiosaurus is standing on its rear legs, you can continue to see the muscle definition, the incredible skin texture, and beautiful paint application. Some nice creasing here in the joint of that front leg there. If we get it in the position that it would actually be standing in, you can see again how massive and muscular the shoulder is moving down into that front leg. Some very nice dry brushing over this area as well that they've given it. You can see the elbow is beautiful right there. You also have some nice creasing in the joint of the elbow. As you lead down into the foot, you can see that foot looks great as far as what a Jurassic Park style Brachiosaurus foot sculpt looks like. Very nicely painted nails. They're painted with like a very dark gray, but they also sport some variations of browns in them, and they do have a nice gloss coat, so they shine very realistically. You can as well see that the toes are nicely elaborated there. The wrist is beautifully sculpted, and you have a very nice turn in the wrist right there as well. Nice kind of creasing in there. And as you lead back up here into the side of the Brachiosaurus, you can see a nice sized stomach to the dinosaur, certainly a well-fed Brachiosaurus, but you can see how beautifully smooth the transition is from the variations of browns to the light coloration of the stomach, and you can still see some variations of browns even within that kind of tannish stomach, and you can see even some variations of like light grays popping up here and there. Just lots and lots of color variation as always when it comes to a Nanmu release. Some nice kind of like cracks and crevices and wrinkles and stuff right there. As you lead up here, you can see the hip bone, but of course our Brachiosaurus is standing up tall, so the hip isn't quite as protruding as you would normally see, because instead of the weight like pushing the legs this way, it's kind of pushing up this way, so you don't see the hips protruding back here quite as much, which is definitely very nice attention to detail on the part of Nanmu. And then as you move along the legs, you can continue to see some beautiful muscle definition there in the thigh. The kneecap is very nicely done. I'm trying so hard to be careful with this Brachiosaurus because there are actually pipes right here above where I review, and I am getting dangerously close to smacking his head off of that area, and that horrifies me. But as you move down again, you can see the kneecap there on the front. You can also see the foot sculpt looks great down here in the foot, beautifully sculpted out nails and beautifully sculpted out toes, again painted and given that very nice gloss coat. And we have a super smooth transition from the darker brown to the lighter brown here of the back of the dinosaur. And then as we lead back here into the tail, again some nice kind of skin stretching and stuff showing off the movement of the Brachiosaurus, as well as some beautiful texturing as we lead out the length of the tail. And again, the paintwork is incredible. Like I could see orangish browns and everything out here on the tail, some slight hints of grays, just so much color and variation of color included in every Nanmu figure that I've ever had the pleasure of owning. And again, you can see how that dark wash really makes all of those creases and cracks and crevices in the skin pop nicely. And you can also see the underside is as highly detailed as you saw on the upper side with this Brachiosaurus. You're not going to see too much difference on this side, any more so than what we had just seen on the initial side, because the Brachiosaurus has a slight turn in the head. You can see if we look at it from up above, you can see a slight turn in the neck and head region, but it's not anything too drastic. You can see as far as the neck goes, for the most part, it's just kind of running straight up. And the legs as well, as far as the front legs, aren't too different. You can see they are absolutely in different positions, but they're not too far off that they're going to create any kind of like a drastic difference between one side to the other. And then, of course, the rear legs are really going to be in pretty much the same position because it's just kind of standing there, nice and sturdy, trying to hold itself up, so no type of a drastic difference as far as that goes. But you can again see that as far as the sculpt, the paint, everything is as gorgeous on this side as it was on the initial side. An incredible version of the rearing up Jurassic Park Brachiosaurus. And we're just going to let him chill back there for a minute while we take a look at the base. And again, the base itself sports some very nice vegetation. Even the base, you could see, has tons of color variation. So many different shades of greens and like browns and all kinds of stuff down here, giving the earthy area a really nice lifelike appearance. And again, the plants themselves look great. You kind of have like a mossy area in general, or like a grassy area. I feel like it's more of like a mossy area. For the overall base, you can even see here along the side, the actual earth itself is shown off. Almost looks like we're like down below the earth, taking a look at our Brachiosaurus, and that looks super cool as well. As you run along the length of the base, you can again see that this downed old log is very nicely sculpted out. It's obviously deteriorated and looks great. You even see kind of like some greens inside, sporting sort of a mossy look to the inside of that tree as well. So again, the base is fantastic, and for being so small, it truly impresses me how nicely it holds that Brachiosaurus and balances that Brachiosaurus up. A fantastic addition to this beautiful release from Nanmu. And then to put the Brachiosaurus on the base, you basically just have to line these pegs up with the holes and slide that in, and once it's in there, it stands very nicely. And look at how incredibly stable that is. That is insanely stable. Honestly, mind-blowingly stable. And what's really neat is you can actually put it the other way if you wanted to. Like, you could face the Brachiosaurus. It won't line up perfectly with the footprints, but if you saw at the beginning of the review, I actually put it on by accident. I wasn't even paying attention. I put it on backwards, and it was still standing beautifully on the base. So that shows you just how incredible this is as far as balance goes, because even if it's facing the wrong way, which again, that was my fault for not paying attention to the way I was putting it on the base, it was still standing beautifully. It certainly is more stable this way, which is insane, but it was really stable the first way. So either way, it's awesome. Now, one thing that is unfortunate for me right now, or for you guys, is that for me to measure this, I have nothing that can actually get like face-to-face, height-wise, to hold the camera with this Brachiosaurus. So you're going to just have to trust me as far as the size goes. For a height to the top of the head of the Brachiosaurus, you are looking at just shy of 19¾ inches, or about 50 centimeters. Massive. And if we go for a length from the tail to the head, you are looking at around, I would say about 22¾ inches, or around the 57½, closing in on 58 centimeter range. So very, very big. And for a size comparison to show you that, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon. And then there is the Nanmu Brachiosaurus. And man, if we actually go really far out here and get a good wide view of this, you can really, really see how impressive the size of this Brachiosaurus is. It is super, super tall, and I really think you should have a pretty good amount of respect now for the size of this Brachiosaurus, showing it off, especially in comparison to Mr. Papo T-Rex. And then for another comparison, here are the standard releases from the Nanmu Brachiosaurus in comparison to the limited rearing up version, helping again to give you an idea of the size and how they size up to each other. And yet again showing you just how impressive all of these Brachiosaurus are size-wise. Let me just stand up and kind of get out here a little bit further away from it to show you guys, like, They are massive, and you can see again that version here, the rearing up version is, really quite tall up there with my light there helping to again show off just how massive that Brachiosaurus is. And now we're going to go ahead and bring in the figure that I think so many people, as far as my review has gone for the first one, so many people wanted to see this figure in comparison to these Brachiosaurus, but I wanted to wait until I had all of them here to take a look at it with these. So for that review comparison, there is the W Dragon Giraffe Titan in comparison to the Nanmu Brachiosaurus. And I really feel like that Giraffe Titan looks like he really belongs with these guys. Obviously not sporting quite a Jurassic Park style sculpt, but definitely, a similar size. Actually, let me get a little bit further back again. I just have to keep getting further and further away with these sizes of these figures. But again, you can see size-wise, that Brachiosaurus is really quite tall. Actually, yeah, a little bit taller than the Nanmu one, which is pretty impressive. Not taller than the rearing up version, though, but again, as far as a comparison goes, look at how cool they all look together. Such a beautiful group of sauropods that honestly look like you would see all of these guys living together if they were alive today. And then we have the Nanmu Brachiosaurus in comparison to the Papo version. Again, we did bring the Papo one in with the initial review, but I really wanted to show you the difference here in size between the Papo version and the rearing up version again. These Nanmu Brachiosaurus are honestly unbelievable. When it comes to a JP-style Brachiosaurus, I have never seen anything as close to as beautiful as these are and as picture-perfect as these are. Previously, I would have said that Papo version right there would have been the leading JP-style Brachiosaurus, but these new Nanmu versions have, in my opinion, knocked that Papo one straight into extinction. And for one last size comparison, here is the Nanmu male Tyrannosaurus Rex in comparison to our Nanmu Brachiosaurus. And again, you can see that Rex is a very large figure, like definitely a sizable release on the part of Nanmu, but it doesn't even remotely compete in size to their Brachiosaurus. Again, just showing you how overly massive and extremely impressive these Brachiosaurus are. So this brand new rearing up version of the Brachiosaurus from Nanmu is just as beautiful, if not maybe even a little more beautiful than the other two versions they have previously released. I would actually rate all of them right there in the same range. Like, they all look gorgeous together. Beautiful releases. No matter which version you buy, it's an excellent purchase. They are all beautiful in their own individual ways. The only thing that's a little upsetting about this rearing up version is being limited. It sold out so quickly. Like, I almost missed it because I didn't pick it up immediately. Like, I was kind of trying to pull some money together before placing the order for it, and I almost missed it. I was lucky enough to get mine through Dan's Dinosaurs. Now, I don't know if Dan has any more available. I cannot say that for sure. I will include a link in the description to where you can head on over to Dan's to order one. But one thing that was, happening with this Brachiosaurus, and it's been discussed in other videos like on Dinos Dragons, he had received his and it was broken. And this is because the Brachiosaurus, the rearing up version here, is made of resin, which causes the figure to kind of bounce around in the packaging, and being resin, they break a lot easier than other, dinosaur figures like PVC and stuff like that. You're not going to have breaks really in those very often, but as far as a resin version, they're very fragile. So unfortunately, a lot of people were receiving theirs damaged. However, if Dan does still have some in stock, what's great about ordering through Dan is always looking out for the customers. And when reports of these Brachiosaurus arriving damaged had begun to surface, Dan went ahead and contacted me to let me know that if I was okay with it, he was going to incorporate more padding into the packaging. And my oh my, did he ever do a great job. Well, technically, I guess it wasn't him. Whoever his seller is that he is working with from China, who was shipping this out for him, did a fantastic job, and they really padded everything beautifully. They used tape and everything to make sure that this Brachiosaurus did not move in transit, and considering how long it was actually in transit on its way here, I was very worried about it arriving safely, but they did such a phenomenal job of making sure it was packaged beautifully. So if you are going to look to order one of these, I highly recommend contacting Dan to see if he has any left or maybe could get a hold of some. I know when reports had begun surfacing of them potentially being damaged, quite a few people were saying online that they were going to cancel their pre-orders, which I feel like a lot of the breaks I had seen were pretty clean, so it would be very easy to put it back together. I don't think it was worth canceling over, but again, that might open up the opportunity to some others to potentially get their hands on it. And if you do, definitely go with Dan. He'll make sure it's packaged beautifully, and you should receive yours quite safely, as I did with mine. But again, back to the Brachiosaurus itself. Gorgeous sculpt, perfectly replicating that rearing up version of the Brachiosaurus from Jurassic Park. As far as the actual positioning of the body goes and just the general overall appearance to the Brachiosaurus, they nailed it 100% as far as that aspect goes. Like, it is just a beautiful ode to Jurassic Park, and again, the first dinosaur you see in Jurassic Park as far as like a full reveal is the Brachiosaurus, and right there when it rears up, it's such a beautiful scene, and I really feel like this model from Nanmu has done that Brachiosaurus scene justice in allowing you the opportunity to own it and have it in your own home. The paint as well is incredible. Whenever you get a Nanmu release, you are going to get a highly detailed paint job as well. So the paint application sports, again, tons and tons of tones of color. When you kind of stand back and look at the Brachiosaurus, you might be like, oh, well, it's just a couple shades of brown. Well, get up close and really examine it. Trust me, you're going to be blown away by how much paint application Nanmu includes in their models. There are just so many different tones, so much slight, very subtle variation of color, dry brushing and stuff. Just color for days throughout the course of this Brachiosaurus, making the paint job look incredibly lifelike as well. So no matter which route you go when it comes to the rearing up Brachiosaurus or the standing kind of walking versions, they're all absolutely excellent and incredibly high recommendations from me. Easily some of the most impressive sauropod figures I have ever seen, and definitely the best Jurassic Park style Brachiosaurus I've ever seen. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to Dan's Dinosaurs, where you can head on over there and place an order for at least the walking versions, potentially the rearing up version. Either way, it's a beautiful figure. Make sure you pick some up, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.